Am I the asshole for leaving in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner because of pumpkin pie? My 32 female mother, 60 female, hosts Thanksgiving dinner at her house every year. It's a small event, with my parents, me, my brother's family and my Sil's family attending. We avoid family quarrels by implementing a strict, no politics, rule and trying our best to be civil. I should probably mention that we are not a particularly close-knit family. We rarely see each other beyond these events since my brother lives in South Africa and I travel a lot due to my work. Thanksgiving is important to my mom since it's one of the rare times we're all together. Anyway, the main problem I have with my mother is her constant critique of me. She has a habit of making passive-aggressive comments about my life choices, from my career to my lack of children to the way I dress. I've addressed this with her multiple times, but she doesn't really seem aware of it. My father claims it is just her way of fussing and expressing that she cares. It does hurt though, because my brother is never criticized in the same manner. I cannot entirely fault her for her criticism, since I did majorly mess up my life a few months ago, depression, and it has affected her opinion of me negatively. It does not excuse the way I acted, but I just wanted to explain why I left. By the time we finished dinner, I was a bit prickly because of some of her commentary. I made a cake for dessert. I was explicitly put in charge of it and no one specified what exactly I should make, so I opted for maple cheesecake. I did my best and I think it looked okay. Mom normally makes pumpkin pie, but I really hate pumpkins, they make me gag, so I thought perhaps we could try something new. As I was bringing out the cheesecake, my mom eyed it somewhat warily and announced that she decided to make the usual pie as well. This caught me off guard. I asked why she didn't tell me beforehand, and she said something like, "Well, we figured you'd do your own thing, so I thought it was best to have a backup." She went on to cut the pie and serve it to everyone, instructing me to leave the cheesecake in the kitchen. When someone asked to try my dessert, she said, "Let's not mix too many flavors at once," which just felt passive-aggressive. I know it's immature for an adult to get this upset over a triviality, but I just politely refused as she was handing me a slice of pie, retrieved my coat and left. People were calling after me I think, but by that point I was crying for some reason and it would have been too humiliating to have an emotional outburst in front of everyone for no real reason. My mom just texted me saying that it was incredibly rude and immature of me to leave like that, especially on Thanksgiving. My brother also sent me a message saying I am acting irrationally. I feel horrible for leaving so abruptly, especially because my parents are getting older and we are already not close. Something about my mother seems to turn me into a neurotic teenager and I hate it. Not the asshole. Your mom is the worst, like seriously the worst. God forbid anyone eat and then compliment your cheesecake. You were not crying for some reason, you were crying for valid reasons. You were not behaving irrationally, you were reacting with perfect rationality given your circumstances. Maybe take off the rest of the holidays and give yourself some grace? Or spend them with a friend or family member that doesn't treat you like an inconvenience? From one black sheep to another, you deserve way better. Serious question. Why do you feel it's okay to sublimate your well-being for people that don't even care for you? It sounds like the annual get-together is important only to your mother. After 3 decades of your mother's abuse, it's okay to let them go. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You were explicitly in charge of dessert. Also, maple cheesecake sounds fucking delicious. Mom, it was incredibly rude to ask me to bring dessert, then tell me that you planned for me to screw up, then refused to serve my dessert even when someone else asked for it. That was atrocious host behavior, and I'm just done with accepting such absolute hogswill. I deserve better, regardless of how you judge me, hence I expect better. Not the asshole. And feel free to not holiday with them again. Not the asshole. It was a power play to leave your cheesecake in the kitchen. At our Thanksgivings, we have 2 or 3 desserts, they all get cut up, and everybody gets to choose what they want. Most try at least 2 out of 3. I usually make pecan pie, and every year my SIL's mother-in-law says, I don't like pecan pie, which annoys me, because I remember from all the other times she said it. Anyway, I'm just saying there are more inclusive ways to approach multiple desserts. Also, it's not your fault that you've been depressed. Your mother was rude. You left as a result. Doesn't sound like you will miss much TLC or emotional support, so just not bothering with them for the time being seems a winner of a no-effort-involved strategy. I would have eaten your cheesecake. Sounds nice. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for not eating a Thanksgiving dish I suspect it was made last year? Long-time lurker, first-time poster, but I'm so baffled about this situation I need a non-biased perspective. My husband and I, 30-ish, have a quite large family. His parents, his 2 siblings plus spouses and kids. My divorced parents and their new spouses, plus my siblings and their spouses and kids. Altogether we are well over 20 people, so family gatherings can be overwhelming for the person hosting. And yes, my divorced parents and their new spouses get along fine and there's no drama. Last night we celebrated Thanksgiving, and as a family tradition everyone brings a dish. Usually we communicate with each other so that way everyone is making different types of food. My sister-in-law, wife of my brother, said that she was going to bring her mom's famous sweet potato casserole. I thought it was very nice of her since her mom passed away this year and she was honoring her memory by making her recipe. However, once I saw her dish I truly think she brought last year's leftovers. Instead of big pan, she brought several small and medium containers of sweet potato casserole. Although it did not smell weird, it was very dry and just didn't look like a regular one. I didn't try it and discreetly told my husband my concerns, who also did not try it. Once Thanksgiving was over, my mother called me saying that my sister-in-law was upset because she noticed I didn't try her dish. I told my mother about my fears and she said that I'm just too picky with food and there's no way a frozen casserole could last a year without having mold. I pointed that the several containers could mean she cut the good parts and left the moldy ones. After an awkward silence, we decided to agree to disagree and hang up. I feel bad for my sister-in-law, but I truly could not bring myself to eat something I am not 100% sure is safe. So am I the asshole? Update to my post. After spending my whole morning reading and answering your comments, I decided to pass by my mother's house and have an in-person talk with her. I read her some of the comments on the original post and she thinks the internet is a strange place. We agreed I can always come and tell her what I think truthfully. She has not talked to anyone else in the family about the yam debacle. We decided to call my brother and ask if we can go to his house and have a talk with him and my sister-in-law. He said to brace ourselves and come with an open mind. When we got there, my sil started crying uncontrollably and my brother took us to the kitchen, which was a mess. Long story short, they were indeed leftovers, just not a year old. I guess sometime before her passing, sister-in-law and her mom had made several family recipes as a bonding experience. The casserole was one of the staple recipes and my sil had froze several containers of it. On Thanksgiving week, she thawed some of it and tried to replicate the taste without luck. I guess the pressure of making it for us got the best of her and she got more and more frustrated as the date approached. On Thursday, she finally gave up and decided to just reheat the ones she had frozen. As to why my sister-in-law noticed that I didn't eat her dish, apparently in prior years I had complimented the casserole as, "This is the best one I've ever tried." So this year she was expecting some comment and was sad when I didn't even try it. I apologized and told her I was really sorry that I hurt her feelings. She apologized for singling me out. We told her to rest and in the meantime my mother and brother, we cleaned the kitchen, tidied the house and mom made her a soup, ajiaco, if you know, you know. My mom decided to stay but I left a bit after everything was done and everyone was calm. As a goodwill gesture I'm getting my sister-in-law a mini spa day that I think she will enjoy and help her feel better. So that's pretty much it, no big fight, no big dramatic scene. Sorry not sorry. Thank you all for your opinions. I will be more thoughtful of people's feelings, but I still will not eat something I don't want to just to please someone. No reports that anyone got sick, BTW. Lastly, does my mother think frozen food can get moldy? She claims she said it in the heat of the moment and because I was annoying her. She knows cooking is not my forte, so she thought I had no good comeback to that. I opened her freezer and there's only meat and ice cream. So, who knows at this point? Not the asshole. Let's say for argument's sake that the casserole was made yesterday, on Thanksgiving. If you just decided you didn't want sweet potato casserole, you'd still be in this situation and you'd still be justified in not eating it. Either way, the person who made the dish should not be closely monitoring who took some. That's very strange. Eat what you want to eat at these types of gatherings. Frozen food doesn't grow mold, but if it was dry it could well have had freezer burns that were cut off. Not the asshole, you don't have to eat anyone else's food. You're not the asshole for not eating something, no one can force you to do that. You're kinda rude for spreading rumors based off of weird assumptions. 1. Frozen food doesn't go moldy. It's preserved as long as it's frozen. Once it's defrosted, normal food safe rules apply. 2. You have no idea if it was leftovers. 3. Even if it was, there's nothing wrong with leftovers. Isn't this weird American holiday all about leftovers? If you wholly believe that eating frozen leftovers is unsafe, you're an idiot, but this situation doesn't make you the arsehole. You're not the for not eating the casserole, but you are the asshole for spreading your assumption among other guests based on assumption. As other people have pointed out, mold doesn't form when frozen. I would not have eaten it either. Not a chance. It's odd that something wouldn't come in one dish. Honestly, you are the asshole. Not for not eating it. That is your choice. But you basically spread rumors without knowing, You caused your husband to also not eat it, and all of this about your frankly wrong ideas about freezer food. Storing leftovers for a year is absolutely no big deal. The quality may be a bit worse, but in no way unsafe. Am I the asshole for not splitting the surprise Thanksgiving bill? This year my father-in-law suggested we host Thanksgiving. We live in a different state and never spent Thanksgiving with them, but we now live in between him and my Bill's family, so it made sense, and since we now have a little more space we agreed. It was 12 people in total, including my other adult brother-in-law and sister. For the Thanksgiving menu, my in-laws wanted to make 8 casseroles. We wanted to make green beans, mashed potatoes, and of course a turkey. We gently suggested that would be a lot to do in our kitchen, but they were adamant, saying everyone would be disappointed and they were part of their family traditions. We bought the turkey, lots of drinks, green beans, mashed potato stuff, pies, odds and ends, etc. They bought a lot of casserole ingredients but kept complaining they'd go bad. Which is unfortunate. We did use some of their butter, but they used a lot of our seasonings, etc. I didn't really pay attention to what they used because why would I? Father-in-law kept going to the store and getting random shit, and a lot of it never got used, wasn't needed, was wrong stuff. Including a whole pineapple peeler thing, and stuff for caramel apples. Kind of weird, but you know, that's not my business. Except, tonight, as one of my bills was getting ready to leave, he pulls him and my husband aside and says that due to high costs of hosting etc. they could all three split the bill and he'd be sending out the receipts for reimbursement on Venmo. My husband's mouth dropped in surprise. His bill kind of awkwardly said that since he wasn't able to contribute a dish, long travel and got in late at night, he'd be happy to send some. He seemed to think it was to help his kid brother, my husband, out, and didn't realize it was for his father who didn't host. After brother-in-law left, I was in the kitchen cleaning, and typically I do let my husband handle his own family stuff. When Phil started packing up ingredients and explaining to my husband he would exclude a drink from the bill, I then broke my cardinal rule and said, "This is very different than in my family. In my family, contributions are always viewed as the dishes you contribute and everything is established ahead of time." He said, "We just thought everyone could contribute," and I pointed out that everyone would include all the people and not just my husband, him, and one bill splitting it, all the married men. It then got really awkward. And he kept going on about how much money groceries were. Am I the asshole for not splitting the Thanksgiving bill? Not the asshole. Your father-in-law is weird. Who the hell asks for reimbursement for Thanksgiving after the fact? I mean, if it was brought up ahead of time, sure, but after the fact is so weird. Info. I'm honestly struggling to understand the situation you hosted, and bought a good bit of the food. One of the guests bought some of the other food and then handed you a bill citing the high cost of hosting? Not the asshole. Where was this guy raised? I have never heard of such behavior. Pay for the dishes you bring to a potluck and don't expect other people to pay you for ridiculous, over-the-top purchases that you made unless you have agreed in advance to such a circumstance. Your father-in-law is losing mental faculties. Seriously. This is inappropriate and there's no reasonable explanation for the pineapple peeler and caramel apple supplies. If this was like a few absolute favorite side dishes, it might make sense, except the reimbursement. But the randomness and multiple trips to the store is covering up some serious confusion. Don't get mad, get curious, and get him checked. You're absolutely not the asshole in this situation. It's incredibly rude and inconsiderate of your in-laws to expect you to foot the bill for a holiday they initiated. It sounds like they took advantage of your hospitality and generosity. It's disappointing that they didn't appreciate the effort and resources you put into hosting. You handled the situation calmly and politely, which is admirable. It's unfortunate that they didn't reciprocate the same level of respect. Remember, it's okay to set boundaries and prioritize your own needs. Don't let their behavior affect your own well-being. Not the asshole. You have to split the bill and they take home everything purchased? How's that work? If he couldn't afford to have that much food, he shouldn't have bought it. You should charge for them using your house, water, and stove. Utilities aren't cheap and they made 8 casseroles. Am I the asshole for telling my friend her quirky behavior is just being rude? I, 25F, have a friend, let's call her Sarah, 24F, who's always been kind of unique. She's one of those people who prides herself on being quirky and different, and while I get that, sometimes it crosses a line into being rude or inconsiderate. She will often interrupt people mid-conversation to share her random thoughts, even if it's completely off topic. She's also really loud and makes awkward comments about personal things, like loudly asking a couple if they've ever considered an open relationship at a dinner party or commenting on someone's weight without any filter. I've talked to her about it in a nice way before, saying that sometimes it feels like she's not really paying attention to the social dynamics or how others might feel, but she brushes it off with a, I'm just being myself, take it or leave it. This weekend, we were at a gathering, and she made a huge scene by loudly criticizing a mutual friend's new haircut. It was a bad cut, but she didn't need to say anything. I finally snapped and told her that she's not quirky, she's just being rude, and it's really starting to get on my nerves. She was really upset, said I was trying to suppress her personality and that I don't appreciate her for who she is. Now, she's ignoring me, and our friend group is divided. Am I the asshole for calling her out, or should I have just let her continue with her quirky behavior? People will use excuses to rationalize anything. Oh, I'm not rude. I'm just quirky. No, sorry. That was rude. Your friend has to own her behavior, and realize it's not only inappropriate, she's offending people. Even if she continues to write it off as being different, she should still recognize the impact her words are having. You can be quirky and still be socially aware. We all have an inner dialogue, and we're responsible to keep it in check. Impulsively blurting out anything, anywhere, can have really negative consequences, like you've seen. She's lucky to have a person in her life to tell her the truth. She doesn't have to like that truth, but at least you tried. Not the asshole. I'm just being myself, take it or leave it. Leave it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Sarah isn't being quirky, she is straight up being an AH. She made a huge scene by loudly criticizing a mutual friend's new haircut. This is just being a straight up an AH. She brushes it off with a, I'm just being myself, take it or leave it. Her being herself will cause a lot of people to hate her and not be her friend. This is like someone saying a horrible thing to someone else and follows it up with, I'm just brutally honest. Brutally honest is just being an asshole without calling yourself an asshole. The truth without kindness is brutality. She's not quirky. She's mean. Also, what you told her was the quirky truth. Is she the only one who gets to be honest? Not the asshole. I refuse to control myself in any way. Take it or leave it. So just leave it. You can even apologize for your comment. I'm sorry friend, you're right. I was wrong to ask you to behave yourself. This is who you are, take it or leave it. Who I am is someone who can't be friends with someone who acts like you do. Best of luck with your life. Also, wait and see how long the folks in your friend group find her antics charming. She's an edgy teenager in an adult body who knows she's heaving poorly, but doesn't want to stop. What do ya do with guys who make gross comments and excuse it as jokes? You ask them how it was funny and watch them sputter. Same with this chick, ask her how a specifically rude comment is quirky. How is laying into someone about their bad haircut quirky? Did Zooey Deschanel do it at some point in New Girl and that's where you got the idea? Not the asshole and avoid people like these. We operate in real life, not in a Tumblr page.